Hello friends, I am continuing with my programs on developments in military technologies, the defense industry, and significant events in ongoing wars around the world. Today, I will tell you about the developments in the defense industry and military technologies in TÜRKİYE during January. Let's move on to our first news today. As I said, I will mainly give the news for January, but the dates may vary slightly. One of the notable news items in January was STM's military ship export to Portugal. So, one of the news items that caught my attention was STM's ship export to Portugal. This agreement, signed on December 17th, involves a logistic support and replenishment ship. The significance of this agreement is that it is the first time we are exporting a ship to a European Union and NATO country. Now, imagine a country like Portugal, which has been very advanced in maritime for centuries. In TÜRKİYE, 31 warships are currently being built simultaneously, as was recently announced. TÜRKİYE has now leveled up in the shipbuilding industry. This was one of the most popular topics of the month, widely discussed. Videos were made on YouTube, and news was reported, so I won't go into that topic. It doesn't make sense to repeat the same things. This ship, the logistic support ship, will be built in 3.5 years. The first ship will be built in 36 months, and the second in 44 months. It can be used for amphibious operations and humanitarian aid. This ship can carry 20 light armored vehicles, not like Altay tanks, M48 tanks, or Leopard tanks, 20 light armored vehicles, and can also carry rotary wing aircraft, such as helicopters and rotary winged UAVs, on its helicopter deck. It is 137 meters long and has a speed of 18 knots. Of course, this is a source of pride for STM and TÜRKİYE. Previously, we had sold ADA-class corvettes and their various versions, which are warships, to Pakistan and various countries in Central Asia. Even now, there are ongoing constructions and those being built in those countries. But this is the first time we are exporting to a NATO and European Union country. This is very important. Our second topic is also a significant one, the Çelik Cub Steel Dome and HİSAR-O Plus. Regarding high-altitude, medium-altitude, and low-altitude air defense systems, I will explain Çelik Cub in detail in another program, and I will have a very serious surprise for you related to it. However, let me briefly mention Çelik Cub. Çelik Cub, an integrated air defense system that covers all of TÜRKİYE, including all air defense elements, radars, command control centers, UAVs in the sky, AWACS, electronic support aircraft, HAVASOJ aircraft, and all air force elements. With ground forces elements, it does not yet cover the naval forces. It is different from Israel's Iron Dome system. Iron Dome is a low-altitude ballistic missile defense system. Çelik Cub, on the other hand, is a system that integrates air defense at all layers, from very low, medium, high, and very high altitudes, covering the entire country. The HİSAR-O Plus air defense missile system addresses medium altitude in this system. HİSAR-O Plus, with all its components, has now been delivered to the Turkish Armed Forces. You know that HİSAR-O Plus had been delivered earlier. It is a low-altitude air defense missile system. Now you need to think of air defense like this. Take an onion and cut it into 4 to create a quarter sphere. These onion layers on the onion represent air defense. This is called an air defense umbrella. It consists of various layers and stages, like a quarter sphere onion. Now, from the lowest altitude to the highest altitude. Ideally, an air defense system should be like this. For every air threat, there should be a separate type of missile to combat it. So, a different missile type for hypersonic missiles, a different one for supersonic missiles, a different one for ballistic missiles, and a different one for air-to-ground missiles. Ideally, this is how it should be. Although no country in the world has fully achieved this ideally, all countries aim for it. Therefore, you should have separate missiles for all speeds and types of threats. Actually, saying high-altitude air defense system is not technically very correct. Instead of high altitude, the intended meaning is long range. So, you need to hit the target coming from the uppermost layer of the onion or the top of the umbrella, whether it's an aircraft or a cruise missile. If you can't hit it, there is a lower altitude, below it a medium altitude, and below that, until the lowest altitude. So, up to the defense of military units on the ground. Sometimes, as I have explained in great detail in previous broadcasts, I won't go into it much here, but there could be very simple FPV drones or kamikaze drones that can bypass all these layers. Very small UAVs or drones, very small UAVs. Then, it would come very low without entering the target of all these layers. Therefore, a staged, tiered air defense system is also needed at low altitudes. So, there should be a CORKIT, multi-barrel anti-aircraft gun system to protect the critical facility at low altitude. Next to it, there should be a HİSAR-A+, low-altitude air defense system or ALKA, high-energy laser and EMP system or SUNGER, manpads. Please remember, in the Russia-Ukraine war, Kalib cruise missiles used flares. Kalib cruise missiles were leaving flares behind them while flying towards their targets. What are flares? They are fireballs made of magnesium, emitting high heat, used to avoid or escape infrared-guided missiles. Helicopters and aircraft throw them. But for the first time, cruise missiles also started using them. Because they started shooting down the missiles with manpads. Therefore, defense systems have diversified a lot. As I said, I will explain this Selek Cub in detail later. Maybe those who watched the live broadcast program on Haberturk TV have seen it. I explained it there for half an hour, a few months ago. I explained it immediately when the Selek Cub news came out. The HİSAR-O Plus will be used in the defense of critical facilities, points, and units. It consists of a command-control vehicle unit, batteries with 6 launchers, and 3 missile launch vehicles, i.e., 3 launcher trucks. These are tactical wheeled trucks or tracked armored vehicles, a mobile radar station, and support equipment. These tactical wheeled trucks can travel with the units. They can move with the units or be deployed around a facility. As I said, each launcher vehicle has 6 launchers, so there are 18 missiles ready to fire, excluding reserves. 1 air defense radar. Caucon. Various radars can also be applied. As you know, first, HİSAR-A and HİSAR-O were produced. Then, range and various modifications, updates were made to them. They became HİSAR-A Plus and HİSAR-O Plus. In this way, they entered serial production. The HİSAR-A Plus low-altitude air defense system had been delivered earlier. Now, the medium-altitude air defense system has been delivered to the Turkish army, which is entirely domestically produced. This was a defense industry presidency project and started in collaboration with Aselsan and ROKETSAN. The warhead was produced by TÜBİTAK. The system has 360-degree effectiveness and the ability to engage and fire missiles at 9 targets simultaneously. So, it will lock radar onto 9 targets and fire missiles at the same time. All air vehicles and missile systems, from cruise missiles to UAVs, are within the target range. With the radar seeker head used in the HİSAR missile, the HİSAR-RF missile was created. This means it has a version with a radar seeker head instead of infrared imaging. The range of the HİSAR-O Plus missile is 25 kilometers, while the HİSAR-RF missile is said to have a range of 40 kilometers. The system will replace the old Hawk air defense missile systems. As you know, Selek Cub includes the CORKIT multi-barrel high-speed gun system, HİSAR-A Plus, HİSAR-O Plus, and later, high-altitude missiles. Cyper Block 1, Block 2, and Block 3. Cyper Block 1 has a range of 100 kilometers, Block 2 has a range of 150 kilometers, and Block 3 has a range of 180-plus kilometer. Additionally, systems like Goktemir, Gokar, and Gokberk will also be included. Therefore, it creates a staged, layered air defense umbrella, with these being the main elements of Selek Cub. Of course, Selek Cub is not just this. A national encrypted communication system and a national data link system that transmits images and data have been developed. This means we have eliminated our dependence on foreign communication systems. If you establish such a system without your own electronic encrypted communication system, you would not have created an original air defense system. Another feature is the dual-pulse solid-fuel rocket motor. This dual-pulse system means that the rocket motor consists of two separate stages. Solid fuel is burned for different durations in different combustion chambers simultaneously. First, one stage ignites and burns the fuel, then the second stage motor ignites. However, it is not exactly a staged motor as in ballistic missiles. There is no jettison part. Instead, there are two different fuel cells within the same body. It has two separate thrust stages. What is the benefit of this? It allows the rocket to accelerate twice during flight and increases its maneuverability. The first combustion stage happens, and then after a certain period, the second stage occurs. So, the combustion temporarily stops, and it drops to a low level, meaning that the missile, while following the target, somewhat throttles down. When the missile relocks onto the target, for example, when the HİSAR-O missile goes pitbull, meaning it locks onto the target with its own active radar, it gains energy again. Thus, the range increases, and speed changes are optimized. This system is especially preferred in air defense missiles. Here, as mentioned above, I'm talking about HİSAR-O+. The delivered system is HİSAR-O+, not HİSAR-O. Now let's move on to another topic, a news article by a Moroccan newspaper called Le Desk. It claims that BaykarSavunma will open a production facility in Morocco. I don't think there was much news about this in TÜRKİYE, so I chose this topic. According to this newspaper's claim, the Turkish drone manufacturer, BaykarSavunma, decided to establish a production facility in Morocco. It is difficult for me to verify the accuracy of this news. I did not contact the company regarding this matter. Such things are not announced before becoming official. There is no point in asking. If this is confirmed, it would mean that the Moroccan armed forces will purchase a large number of UAVs or there will be joint production there. This was indeed an interesting piece of news. Yes, let's move on to another piece of news. This one is about the statements of Dr.M.Demiroğlu, General Manager of TUSAŞ, Turkish Aerospace Industries Incorporated. In his interview with GDH, some of the noteworthy points were additional sales of T-129 ATK attack helicopters to Nigeria and the Philippines and the HAVASOJ-Advanced Airborne Electronic Warfare System aircraft. Let me briefly summarize and then make a few comments. Demiroğlu said, "Selling T-129 ATK helicopters to Germany is my dream." This is indeed a wonderful statement. For the T-129 ATK helicopter, it was also mentioned that its performance makes it the leader in its class. This means the T-129 is considered to be the leader among light attack helicopters. Attack helicopters can be roughly divided into two classes: light attack helicopters and heavy attack helicopters. Heavy attack helicopters include models like the K-52 and AH-60 for Apache. The T-129 ATK falls into the light attack helicopter class. TÜRKİYE is also developing the ATK-2 helicopter as a heavy attack helicopter. I will show you the taxi tests of the ATK-2 shortly. Thus, the ATK-2 helicopter claims to be the best in the world in the light attack helicopter class, and I agree with this claim. In my opinion, it is indeed the best. For instance, it would not have been good for TÜRKİYE to acquire the Apache helicopters in the past. I used to ask helicopter pilots which they would prefer. In high altitudes and high temperatures during summer in the mountainous terrain of the southeast, especially in flights requiring very rapid maneuverability, heavy attack helicopters would not perform well due to the serious manpads threat. Most pilots would say they preferred the T-129 ATK over the AH-64. Yes, in a war against a major state, a heavy attack helicopter carrying numerous anti-tank missiles would be more useful in open plains and battlefields. However, for counterterrorism operations in the southeast region, the T-129 was much more ideal. Many countries also prefer it because it is a smaller, and thus cheaper helicopter. This shows it was the right choice. As everyone says, it was fortunate that the Americans did not give us the AH-1W Super Cobra/AH-1Z King Cobra helicopters at that time. TUSAŞ CEO Demiroğlu continues. We tell the British and Americans that we can provide them with the Aksunger UAV. For example, the Aksunger UAV can stay airborne for 2 days while protecting the US-Mexico border. When we say this, they are surprised and ask how it is possible. Companies that did not sell us electro-optic cameras, he does not name the companies, but likely refers to Canadian firms, now want to work with us. However, we now use Aselsan systems because we can use our national electro-optic systems, Aselsan Aselfler and Aselsan CATS, in all our UAVs. Despite Canada's embargo, the HAVASOJ was completed. I will explain HAVASOJ shortly. As you know, Canada imposed a short embargo and did not supply some items, trying to block the project. However, the aircraft were Bombardier Global 6000 type aircraft from Canada, and 4 aircraft arrived as green aircraft, meaning they were only equipped with essential flying equipment. Green aircraft means an aircraft made only for flying, without special mission equipment installed. Since the aircraft were painted green, they are called green aircraft, in aviation terminology. At TUSAŞ, these aircraft were modified, and the necessary electronic equipment was installed. All these critical components were domestically made, meaning produced by Aselsan. If you cannot produce the internal equipment of the HAVASOJ, Airborne Electronic Warfare System, aircraft, there is no point in acquiring the aircraft. You need to make the electronic support and electronic attack elements yourself. These systems are highly susceptible to hacking. If you do not have the source codes, it means someone else has them. Making them ineffective is not difficult. The Airborne Electronic Warfare System, HAVASOJ, enables our aircraft to operate safely by detecting, identifying, locating, jamming, deceiving, and blinding enemy communication systems, air defense, and early warning radars. While there is an HAVASOJ operating behind enemy airspace, our Air Force's aircraft can perform defense against enemy radars and the SAM/ground-to-air defense missiles guided by them, and even air-to-air missiles launched from enemy aircraft within range, by conducting active radar guidance. Our aircraft will be protected against air-to-air missiles. Because this system will constantly detect those radars, it will direct our aircraft carrying anti-radiation missiles for the suppression of enemy air defenses (SEAD) mission. It will locate mobile air defense radars and jam those radars. As a result, enemy active radar-guided air-to-air missiles and semi-active radar-guided missiles directed by enemy aircraft will face electronic jamming in the air, and enemy aircraft radars will also be jammed. The missiles they fire cannot be directed, within range, of course. Additionally, ground-launched air defense missiles (SAM) radars will be blinded, and they won't even need to launch missiles because they can't direct or guide them. Now let's continue with Mr. Demiroğlu's statements. There is a sale of T-129 ATK helicopters to Nigeria. Both Nigeria and the Philippines have purchased these helicopters. They were very satisfied, so they are negotiating for additional purchases. There is talk of a second batch sale to the Philippines. The Nigerians also have a nice video about this. You will see it shortly. Demiroğlu said that the T-129 helicopter can meet the needs of all countries. The delivery of our helicopters is as follows. The number of helicopters delivered by TUSAŞ has reached 84. For the attack helicopter given to Nigeria, there are 1,456 units of 2.75-inch, 70 mm, unguided rockets, 30 units of LMTs, laser-guided anti-tank missiles, 50 units of laser-guided SIRIT missiles, and 20 mm machine gun rounds. The 20 mm rotary gun in the nose is also domestically produced, and was exported for the first time. So far, 58 units have been delivered to the Turkish Land Forces, 13 units to the Gendarmerie General Command, and 3 units to the General Directorate of Security, i.e., the Turkish police. Including other exports, there have been 84 deliveries. Another topic is the statements of Mr. Murat, General Manager of ROKETSAN, regarding the TAYFUN SRBM short-range ballistic missile. The TAYFUN SRBM has started serial production, and they are working to extend its range. The TAYFUN ballistic missile's test firing was conducted from RISE. I have made shorts videos about this on my Captain Baja YouTube channel and my own channel. I won't go into much detail here. During the test firing, the 8x8 BMC 525-44 vehicle caught my attention. Previously, the MZKT series from Belarus was used, but now it has been replaced with BMC. Mr. Murat mentioned the serial production and the efforts to extend the range. Social media widely wrote about the test firing having a range of around 800 kilometers. Thus, the TAYFUN ballistic missile has approached the SRBM range limit, nearing the 1,000 kilometers threshold. The developed CNK ballistic missile will be an MRBM, medium-range ballistic missile. This was one of the most popular and important news items of last month. Let's briefly look at the short videos I published last week since I summarized the TAYFUN missile. To quickly summarize the TAYFUN ballistic missile's features, it has a diameter of 610 millimeters, a length of 6.5 meters, and a weight of 2,300 kilograms. The weight of the warhead is not disclosed on the ROKETSAN website. However, a crucial observation from the test firing was the CP, circular error probable, value being extremely low, almost hitting the target with pinpoint accuracy, within 1 meter. This makes it an extremely accurate ballistic missile, which is a huge success for a ballistic missile. It has a GNSS, Global Navigation Satellite System, receiver, meaning GPS guided. It has the maneuverability and guidance system to hit the target with pinpoint accuracy and corrections. So, what has been achieved? The entire regions of Greece, Iraq, and the Black Sea have been brought within range. A significant milestone has been achieved for the CNK missile, an MRBM, as TÜRKİYE has approached the 1,000 kilometers range. For ballistic missiles, if targeting Iraq, the missile should be mobile enough to be placed inside a vehicle, or even inside a heavy transport aircraft, for deployment. If not, your missile base, for instance, should be in Konya, with sufficient range to impact from there. If you need to intervene in Greece from Izmir, you shouldn't necessarily have to deploy in Izmir. You should be able to intervene from Afyon, Manisa, or Aydın. Thus, the missiles should have the range to strike the furthest enemy point from a location where it won't be targeted by enemy aircraft and missiles. That's the rationale for long range. Without a nuclear warhead, a ballistic missile with a range longer than 1,500 to 2,000 kilometers isn't very cost-effective. However, given the ballistic missile threats around, you exhibit significant deterrence against hostile countries when you deploy a missile in a place like the space station in Somalia, immediately responding to any threats. The TAYFUN ballistic missile and subsequent ballistic missiles could potentially evolve into anti-ship ASBMs. At hypersonic speed, the enemy would need an immense ballistic missile defense system to intercept the TAYFUN SRBM. There is no such country around us. A standard Patriot air defense system wouldn't suffice. It would need to be PAC-3 MSE or THAAD, SM-3, Arrow, etc., which only a few countries like the USA, Israel, Japan, and South Korea possess. This is the end of my original Turkish broadcast. Please follow my broadcasts in your language in the playlists. You can also watch my other Turkish videos on my channel by using the settings translation feature on YouTube. I am Hakan Kilic, defense analyst, author, researcher on military aviation, 5th-gen aircraft, missile systems, and also author of the book Ballistic Missiles 1, The Historical Development of Rocketry in the World and Technical Review of Missile Systems. See you soon. Don't forget to turn on notifications, like and subscribe.